Sally Rafferty on ABC North Queensland.
Welcome back to the show. I hope your day is going well so far. It's 10:10, ABC North Queensland. I'm Sally Rafferty. Now, are you wondering how to live your best online life? A conference next month hopes to arm participants with some important skills. Now, how's the NBN stacked up during COVID? And the new Apple Watch? They're just some of the issues making waves in the tech world. To tell us more, Alex Zaharov-Royt, he's the tech writer with IT Wire. Alex, good morning.
Good morning, Sally.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about this conference that's coming up?
Yes, well, it's called Live Your Best Online Life, and it's from ASCCA, the Australian Seniors Computer Clubs Association. And since 1998, it has been Australia's peak body for empowering Australian seniors through technology. It's non-profit, it's a registered charity, and I became a director of ASCCA in November last year. And for the last 6 years, this will be my 7th year, I've been the closing keynote speaker at this conference. And this conference brings together a bunch of great speakers who show websites, technologies, and gadgets and things which are aimed at seniors. And it wants to help seniors to enrich their lives and make them more self-reliant, but also help bridge the generation gap and empower seniors to benefit the community through their collective experience and knowledge. And 7.9 million Australians are aged 50 and above, which is almost a third of the population. And 75% of our senior Australians use the internet, their mobiles and their devices on a regular basis. But that means 25% of them are not using them much at all. And so this conference is open to anybody. You don't have to be a member of a computer club to go along. The website is ascca.org.au, ascca.org.au, and tickets for this conference are $15 each. It's on Zoom. Normally it's held in Sydney, but of course with the pandemic everything's online these days. And there'll be speakers including Charlie Brown, who's a very well-known tech commentator, and he always showcases the latest technology. There'll be Scott Hollier, who's the CEO and co-founder of the Centre for Accessibility. He's vision impaired, and so he knows a lot about various accessibility technologies. And you don't have to be differently abled in any way to take advantage of the fact that your phone can have bigger fonts or make things in bold or speak out the name of whoever it is that's calling you, or shine the light on the back of the phone when you hear, when the phone is ringing, in case, you've got hearing difficulties, for example. We'll have Google. We'll have myself there as the closing keynote speaker, and hopefully we can mention this a couple of times, but the group invites everybody to attend this conference and learn about technology, whatever your age group.
How, particularly looking, for seniors, how can technology enrich their lives?
Well, it's just some of the examples I gave just then. Even your iPhone and your Android, they have special modes where just by having the phone on, they can be hearing if a baby's crying or if there's a doorbell or if there's a smoke alarm, and it can be telling you this information. Even simple things like, having your phone read out to you what it sees on the page, and even getting it to underline every word that it's on is of great help for those who are vision impaired and want to be able to interact with digital information and digital technologies as easily as normally people who can see and hear quite easily and quite well. There was actually a complaint some years ago from a technology journalist who said, the iPhone, how can anyone with disabilities use the iPhone? It's just a piece of glass. And, within 24 hours, he had to put out a groveling apology because he didn't realize that from the very beginning, the iPhone, and this also includes, Androids and tablets, were designed so that people who are blind or deaf could use them. And that's by, if you're blind, for example, you can switch on a voiceover mode on your phone, and wherever you put your finger on the screen, it will read out to you what's there. So it'll tell you there's an icon, or if you tap on the battery, it'll tell you the battery life. It'll tell you, signal strength. It'll tell you what's on the screen. And if you're blind, you can get little braille readers as well that connect to your phone via Bluetooth, and the little braille pads just pop out. And for someone who is vision impaired, and they put their finger on the braille reader, well, they can read information just as readily as you and I can read information off the screen. But look, there's lots of different ways, and that's one of the segments that we're going to be teaching people as to how they can actually, seniors can use these technologies much more easily. But also, Google will be showing their best advice on how to live your best online life. I'll be showing various ways of using your smartphones and tablets. I mean, even just talking to your devices. You can actually voice control your computers these days and tell it to swipe up and swipe down and swipe left and swipe right. You can bring up a grid so that if you can't click on something with the mouse, you can see a grid of numbers on the screen, and then you can select one number and have an even smaller grid. So it's really amazing how advanced today's technologies are. And a lot of these features and functions people don't know. But even just simply using websites and technology to improve your life, 25%, as I said, of seniors aren't using technology pretty much at all. And in the modern era, especially in this age of COVID, we've seen how useful technology has been to maintaining the sort of life that we're used to.
You did touch on it there. That conference is going to be held online, and it's something that we've been seeing a lot of during the COVID pandemic. Alex, the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission has released a report showing how the NBN stacked up. What did it show?
Well, it showed that between, in the period between May and June, which was sort of in the height of the pandemic, the NBN stacked up really well. Now, the NBN did give 40% extra capacity to the internet providers across Australia to cope with the huge amount of people going online to do Zoom conferences and Microsoft Teams and Google Meet and all those online platforms, and also to do a lot of online schooling and watch a lot of streaming media, whether it's iView or Netflix or YouTube. There was a huge increase, and that increase continues today. And the NBN held up remarkably well. I mean, thankfully it did, because if it didn't, if we were still stuck in the world of ADSL and much slower internet speeds, it would have been a disaster. So the sort of NBN was completed at just the right time. I mean, we've also had the announcement since that the government is now going to spend an extra $4.5 billion upgrading the network to put a lot more fibre directly to people's homes. You will have to pay a higher amount of money if you want a faster connection, but we're talking connection speeds of up to a gigabit, which is 10 times faster than the 100 megabits maximum that people have today, and many more times faster than that, than the original 12 megabits that Kevin Rudd spoke about in 2007. So the NBN has held up really well.
And you did touch on it a little bit there, but how much of an impact did that extra network capacity have on producing this result?
Well, it was very important that the NBN had that spare capacity there to do that. I mean, they increased the capacity by nearly a half, by up to 40%. And that was able to soak up the huge extra demand that there was for streaming media and online video. Video takes up the most bandwidth of all. And, I mean, look, we also had people like Netflix that actually reduced the quality of their streams, not necessarily so that we could notice that it was reduced, but it was lowering or lessening the load on the internet backbone and the amount of data that was coming to everybody's homes. And there was also an increase in people making sure that the NBN Wi-Fi modems in their homes were in a much more open space. They weren't hidden under a cupboard or on a shelf behind books. The NBN actually had ads in shopping centres on those screens that we now have instead of the old paper posters. We now have these screens. I'm sure everyone's seen them. And they had ads which were saying, look, make sure that your modem is in the middle of the home, unencumbered by various things. And of course, we also have these mesh network Wi-Fi modems that people can now buy that can much more evenly distribute the Wi-Fi through your home. In the past, they used to try and make the Wi-Fi modem more and more powerful, but there were still rooms at the edges of your home that couldn't get a connection. Now you can get a thing called a mesh network, which is available in all the various different stores from about $200 up, and you can put these little nodes in your house, and they connect to your NBN modem, and they can give you a much stronger Wi-Fi network across the home. So the technology has improved out of sight, and thank goodness that it has, because otherwise, I mean, I remember reading about the 1918 pandemic. There were ads that talked about how you could pick up the phone and talk to somebody, but the amount of telephones that were back available 100 years ago would have been, minuscule compared to what we have today. If we had the pandemic at any other time, it would have been a very different result to the mostly amazing result we've had, certainly in Australia.
You're listening to ABC North Queensland. My name's Sally Rafferty. My guest this morning is tech writer for IT Wire, Alex Zahara-Freud. Now, I understand you've trialled the new Apple Watch. What can you tell us?
Yes. Well, I bought one myself from Telstra. I used some points and I got a little bit of a discount. And look, I've been using it for a few days now. And if you've got a Series 4 or 5 Apple Watch, the ones from the last couple of years, then visually they look the same. But there are still differences. And if you've got the Series 3 or earlier, well, you've got a bigger screen, brighter screen, faster processor. But the big differences between this year's and last year's is that in the sunlight, when you're looking at the watch and the always-on display is on, it is genuinely brighter. It's 2.5 times brighter than the Series 5 watch from last year. And what that also means is that with last year's watch, when you tapped on the screen, which then made it go really bright, as you know, it would be when you, in the old days, push the crown or touch the screen to get it to go from black to showing you something. Well, you had to tap the screen to get it brighter. But with the new watch, you don't have to do that first tap. It's already bright enough for you to see. So when you tap on a complication or an icon or the weather, or you push the button on the side to get out the menu, instead of making the screen brighter first, it just does that particular action. So it saves you a step and it's quicker. The processor inside is 20% faster, which means apps also run faster. And it also has a blood oxygen sensor. Now, that's not medical grade, it's wellness grade. But we heard even with President Trump that, you know, the blood oxygen levels went down. They had to give him oxygen. And if you can track the amount of oxygen in your blood with this particular sensor. Other watches have it too, but it's the first time it's on Apple Watch. And I've been getting 94, 95, 96, which is sort of in the good range. If you go below 90%, then you probably should go and talk to your doctor because you haven't got enough oxygen in your blood. And so, you know, there's also in Watch OS 7, which anybody with a Series 4, 5 or 6 can switch on in the settings of their phone. You can have this hand washing mode that tells you there's a little 20-second countdown timer, and it's counting down as you wash your hands. And if you stop washing your hands, the timer stops. But when you finish washing your hands, your watch vibrates, and so that you don't have to look at it to know that you've spent 20 seconds properly washing. And you can also set up something so that when you arrive home, it reminds you to wash your hands as well. So just nifty little features, especially good for the COVID era we now live in.
That's right, Alex. COVID certainly has changed every aspect of life, including our watches by the looks of things. Thanks so much for your time. We'll catch up with you next week.
Yes, and November 10 is the conference, but we'll talk about that more in coming weeks. Thank you very much, and talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week. Thanks, Alex. Alex Zahara-Freut, he is the tech writer with IT Wire. It's 21 minutes past 10.